My name is Mike Nelson, perhaps best known in the DCD community as Dyspraxic Sing Song Mike. As a fitness enthusiast, I've been hosting free online fitness workouts on behalf of Dyspraxic Help for You, under the banner of Dyspraxic Fitness since 2020. It was after having been diagnosed in my teens with dyspraxia that I sought to raise awareness and support others also living with a hidden disability. Starting a family, holding down employment, and then becoming a homemaker naturally took precedence. Voices in the dyspraxia community got louder after the outbreak of the pandemic, and it became evident more than ever that dyspraxic people were struggling both mentally and physically. Joining me on this podcast will be other dyspraxic fitness fanatics, dyspraxic sports people, and attendees from my dyspraxic workouts to discuss living with dyspraxia and how they embrace keeping fit with a lifelong hidden disability. Before we proceed with the episode, we would like to invite you to attend our twice-weekly online Dyspraxic workouts. For more information, please follow Dyspraxic Fitness on social media, on Facebook at Dyspraxic Fitness, on Instagram at Dyspraxic Fitness, and on Twitter at DH4U Fitness. Hi there, welcome to the podcast, Sophie. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you. And obviously, thank you very much for your time to come on to this podcast. So let's begin, first of all, by finding out, when you were officially or self-diagnosed, with dyspraxia, really. When was that done?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was 11. I had many different tests over the years prior to it. I had a lot of brain scans and muscle tests because I had very weak muscle tone and I kept falling down the stairs and things like that. So I do remember being as young as 3 or 4 and having brain scans and things like that as they were trying to figure out what was wrong. And then I had quite extensive testing by an occupational therapist, and then I was diagnosed at 11 years old.
Oh, blimey. So has that been some time, has it, that you've been kind of diagnosed? Obviously, we should never ask anybody how old they are, but, has that been some time?
It's over 20 years, yeah.
Oh, sure. No worries. Well, I've been diagnosed since I was 13 and, I'm 41 now. So, I've been dealing with it for some time, really. And what do you think that you struggle with? I mean, what do you think that you struggle with mostly on a day-to-day basis, as a obviously consequence of having the hidden disability as it is?
Now as an adult?
Yeah, that kind of thing, really, yeah.
Well, I guess can't really pinpoint one thing, but I guess low self-esteem is one of the highest kind of things, but also I get fatigued very easily. And people don't really understand that. They're like, how do you get so tired all the time? And the worst thing is you can't even really explain why, because, there are so many factors about dyspraxia that contribute to getting fatigued easily. And that's down to even weak core muscles and low muscle tone and things like that. And just your brain having to work so much harder just to do sometimes just basic tasks.
Yeah. Do you find that's like most days, is it, that you have kind of that issue, should I say? Or is it kind of just like...
Yeah, it would be most days. And then I would have that experience of some days I can tie my shoelace or do the buttons on my bedclothes, no problem. And then the next day, it's almost as if I've never learned that skill ever.
Yeah, it can be like that, can't it? Definitely. It's crazy on, how people maybe with dyspraxia can do that. They can do one thing perfectly well one day and then they come around the next day and it's just like, what?
Yeah. And I think that's very difficult for us to grasp, let alone people who don't have it, But that's the one thing that's the most frustrating is, with my personal trainer, I finally got a push-up, and the next week we spent 10 weeks after that just trying to get me to do another one.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? But you did it last week. I don't understand this. And I said, if you don't understand, I don't understand.
And that's the thing, some people just don't understand. And sometimes even if we don't understand ourselves, it's like, well, this is, how can this be really? I mean, did you kind of enjoy taking part like in PE and physical exercise, at school? Or
I despised PE in junior school, and there was a mutual dislike. My PE teacher did not like me at all, and she would call me out in front of the class, and she'd mark people's jumps out of 10, and she'd be like, Sarah 8 out of 10, Louise 9 out of 10, Sophie -1, and I'm being generous and things like that.
Awful, isn't it?
One time she stopped the I know, yeah, it does wonders with the self-esteem. But one time we were doing a dance for a gym display, and she stopped the tape, pointed at me in front of 70 other kids, called out my full name and said, has nobody ever told you that you're pathetic at everything?
Whoa.
And so that didn't really do much for me enjoying PE.
And I would have thought that would have, helped people not, to have their confidence. That's a huge confidence kind of concern.
Yeah. It was massive. And when I got to secondary school, it was mildly better. But when it came to things like badminton, I would have to just stand at a wall, practicing hitting a shuttlecock for the double class. And I was like, this is such a waste of my time.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't hit it against the wall for starters, And then my teacher would apologize to the person for being paired with me. Yeah. So, I mean, PE in school was not my thing at all. Yeah.
But, I suppose, we do go through school, particularly with PE. I wasn't really that great at PE. And again, I got pinpointed. Oh, why can't you do this? Why can't you do a forward roll? Well, because I can't.
Yeah.
And pinpointed in front of the class. Hey, it does seem really, a bit strange to look back at that now and thinking, yes, you put me out in front of the whole class and tried to get me to a forward roll, which I couldn't do, and walk on the beam. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
there's a reason for us not being able to do this. So it's crazy, really. I mean, at that point, were your kind of like PE teachers kind of supportive of your disability, or did they kind of just like shrug it off and just go, oh, well, something's, you can't do it kind of thing?
I mean, I think back then, it was still very much unheard of, certainly in my school anyway. And so there was this definite unspoken kind of thought that I was just looking for an easy way out, or, I was just making excuses for why I didn't want to do things. And even though it was unspoken, you heard it loud and clear. And that's very tough,
Definitely. And it's hard to, like you say, it's hard to hear those comments as well, isn't it, really? I mean, did you also, for me, I got like picked last. Did you ever find that you were always picked last in, to be in the football team, say, or a hockey team or something like that? Were you picked last, or was it just
last every time if I was picked at all?
That's crazy. Why should it be last? It'd be so much better if we picked like a little bit kind of maybe not first, but maybe somewhere in the middle, at least, so then we wouldn't feel bad. But
I do remember reading a poem that was stuck up in one of the classrooms, and it was to the effect that this little boy was picked last for everything. And basically he said, if they ever pick teams starting at the worst, then maybe just once a boy like me could end up being first. And I was like, oh, I relate.
Yeah. It is.
It's like, I love that.
Oh, I mean, things like that are even around today. I haven't been to school myself for a very long time, but you can relate back and go, you know what, that was me. Yeah, that was definitely me. Oh, that was that
Yeah.
person that is going to be a bit of a problem on our football team because he's either going to fall over or he's not going to score a goal, or there's going to be penalties
Yeah.
or fouls all over the place. So yeah, it does really reflect along that kind of way, really. I mean, did any negative experiences, such as being last or anything? I mean, did they kind of deter you from kind of embracing sport or even fitness as you left school, or was it that you kind of thought, what?
Oh yeah. I did, like, throughout my 20s, I did enlist the services of a couple of personal trainers, but I think I had about 5 of them throughout my 20s, and not one of them, not one of them was willing to actually learn about dyspraxia. If I said, I actually can't do this, they said, oh, of course you can, you just have to try. And I didn't really end up staying with them very long because I could tell that they just weren't getting it, So I was quite deterred from fitness for ages, really, certainly throughout most of my 20s and maybe the first year of my 30s.
Yeah. I mean, it does have an effect on us, doesn't it? When someone says you can't do this, you particularly me as a dyspraxic, you kind of think, oh, you take that to heart a bit too, not too much, I wouldn't have thought, but you do take it to heart and you go, oh, okay, maybe you're right. But... And I think you have to kind of tell yourself that sometimes you can, you can do it, but it is tricky when people have been so harsh, and pinpointing you and saying, right, okay, everybody sit down. We're now going to have a look at the at this person who can't do it too well, or yes, and everyone's looking at each other when we're picking football teams, going, I really hope, it shouldn't be the way, it's like, oh, I hope we don't get that person. We may as well set the score and predict it right now because, that was what I was thinking pretty much right away, through being picked. They're thinking, right, whoever's on my team side, we're going to lose, it's what's going to happen, unless I had some really, big, superstar of a football player or something like that that could actually do well and pull it back. But that wasn't going to be me. I knew that wasn't. Really. I mean, did you find that you prefer kind of exercising alone, or do you prefer exercising with others? Kind of more. What's your kind of favour, really?
Well, for me, I would definitely prefer exercising alone so nobody can see me, because like I would try, every so often to go for a jog, but I wouldn't be what you would call graceful, that the limbs would be kind of flying all over the place, and it just doesn't, it just looks strange, so I prefer to do that where nobody can see me, And it is something I suppose I'm conscious of when I go for a swim, is that, I'm nearly too slow for the slow lane, because I'm just trying to concentrate so much on using both arms and legs at the same time. And it's quite hard to do that when you have trouble with coordination,
Definitely. And, I guess maybe it's that kind of thing is like, being kind of self-conscious a bit and people going, oh, look at that person, whether they should go, well, they're giving it a go, they're doing what they can do. But, I think people sometimes maybe can be a little bit judgmental and kind of, oh, right, okay, they're struggling. Why are they in the slow lane and we're going slower than the people in the slow lane, But, it's how it is, and, people, the kind of thing about it is that, if you go to a swimming pool or something like that and there's people on the side, waiting to swim, well, they don't know that people got dyspraxia or anything really, but so they can go, oh, well, that person's had a bit of difficulty, well, what's going on? So it is, I used to get that as well, it's just like people being a bit self-conscious and thinking, oh, well, until I just worked out, what, I'm just going to do what I can. That's probably the best thing, But So, when did you actually start kind of participating in sport or kind of exercising regularly, really?
Mm. Well, when I was 30, I always knew I had secondary to my dyspraxia, I have hypermobility and low muscle tone.
Okay.
And I also have something called trochlear dysplasia, which is where the bottom of the femur, it doesn't quite fit into the knee joint correctly. So I'm more prone to dislocating my kneecap.
Ooh, sounds
So
painful.
by the time I was 30, I had dislocated my kneecap 5 times.
Ooh.
And so I knew I was just going to have, problems with it. So
Yeah.
when I was 30, I was told that I need my left knee replaced. And I thought, okay, 30 is far too young to even, consider anything like that. And so I thought, okay. And then he said to me, it's going to be very, very difficult to recover from that because you're such weak muscle tone. So then I kind of thought, okay, maybe it's time to try personal training again, but this time just make sure they understand about dyspraxia. And I met Ronan, who was my friend's brother, and we got chatting, So then a couple of weeks later, then after this encounter with my surgeon, he came back to, my mind, and, I didn't want to message him just yet because I wasn't sure if he was back in the gym yet, I wasn't sure how much time he was going to take off after. But I messaged him a couple of weeks after that and kind of prayed that he would never see my message. And yeah, he did. And so he said to me, well, when do you want to start? And I said, can I start in a couple of weeks? It's because, I'm going for bottomless brunch for my birthday and I need to get it out of my system. So, he was fine about that. So I started training with Ronan on the 25th of April, 2018. And I brought up like a couple of dozen pages about what dyspraxia is, and and it wasn't so awkward because we had been speaking obviously a couple of weeks before that, so it wasn't too awkward. But he was very good, and I kind of got the sense that this guy was different, and he was actually prepared to listen to what dyspraxia was all about. And, for the first 6 weeks, it was really hard for both of us. It was very frustrating for both of us because, he would be, asking me to do a lunge and I would literally just fall over onto the ground and couldn't squat, without losing my balance or things like that. So it was actually quite frustrating for us both because he was talking in a language that was completely alien to me, So then 6 weeks later, he decided to change the way that he would train me. So we were doing an exercise. He was teaching me how to deadlift, and he said, I want you to think about the episode of Tom and Jerry where he's playing a music concert and he kind of wipes the end of his coat and sits down. So he said, if I say tails and chair, that's the movement that you need to do the deadlift. And so just like that for weeks, we would just work on tails and chair. And that was my visual cue for how to do the movement. And we would do kind of upper body work and he would just say, put your sunglasses on, because to me that made so much more sense because it would be a movement that I do, and not that you need sunglasses over in Ireland, but it would be a movement that I know how to do. And for me, somebody telling me to put on my sunglasses makes so much more sense than, elevate your arms to X degrees and lock out this. That doesn't make sense to me, so for someone to say, put on your sunglasses, all of a sudden I was able to do things that other people were doing. And it was strange because, I would daydream a lot, somebody only has to stop talking to me and I'm just back in my own world. But what I found was I started to daydream a lot less as my brain sort of woke up, I guess. And my brain just really kind of something connected with doing these movements. And, and I found I was much more alert in my daily life,
That's brilliant. I mean, it's great that, people, can take the time to explain things a bit differently, as you were saying there. It's just like, we do things to this angle, but if you can kind of get a picture of of something else, like you can imagine something, then sometimes it can be a little bit more easier, can't it?
Yeah, but I think, I suppose that we were both struggling in the beginning and we both found a way around it. We both just stuck it out and we found a way around it and it worked incredibly well. And, and then whenever he went away on holidays, there was only one personal trainer in the gym. No disrespect to any of the others, of course, but there's only one other personal trainer, Mick, who I'm still friends with today, and he's just brilliant. But he's so good. He's so good for people who have dyspraxia and any other kind of learning difficulty, because he is so patient and very understanding if you need a break or anything like that. So whenever Ronan went on holidays, I would only want to be put with Mick. But anyway, time went past, more than a year passed, and I was benefiting so much, from it, that I wanted to do a course to become a personal trainer for people who have dyspraxia. And I'd say it took about another year before I started my course. I just kept telling myself I'd fail because, I guess you're your own worst enemy sometimes. And, so it took a full year from the time I decided I wanted to do this to help other people with dyspraxia. It took a full year to actually have the courage to start the course.
That's fantastic. And, it does take a bit of time, and sometimes it takes other people to say, go for it, and have that extra bit of push, if you like, from other people. And
yeah.
And then you think, you know what, let's give this a go. Let's see how we can actually, get this sorted out, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic that kind of, I think, we tend to listen to people for reassurance sometimes. And, it's just like, that's what we have to do, isn't it? I mean, I do say, people with dyspraxia are known to have kind of poor gross motor skills, trouble with mobility, coordination. I mean, have you ever been affected by these, characteristic traits or anything like that particularly, or?
Yeah, well, now my fine motor skills would, it's actually quite, like my gross motor skills certainly wouldn't be the best, but I think my fine motor skills is where I struggle greatly, like doing buttons, tying shoelaces, holding a pencil. I don't feel comfortable holding a pencil. And things like just simple things like that people take for granted, like brushing my hair, and tying it up neatly and things like that. So I find the finer movements very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I suppose it does. It's different from person to person, really, isn't it? Particularly with dyspraxia.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But I guess. Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty obvious that I would have issues with gross motor skills because I couldn't kick a ball,
Yeah.
I am literally one of those cartoons you see on the TV, you fall over when you kick a ball. That's just me. And I can't drive or cycle or swim with both arms and legs, can't rollerblade or anything like that, So, yeah, I am, as far as dancing goes.
Yeah.
That, teacher says go right and I go left,
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
Um,
Yeah, it is tricky, isn't it, really? I
yeah,
mean, did you find that like exercising kind of helped in regards, to physical difficulties, to be had with obviously being
yeah, I mean,
dyspraxic?
it made a big difference to my gross motor skills, definitely. I can't say I noticed a difference to my fine motor skills, but my gross motor skills and also things like my concentration
Yeah.
and my balance really improved as well because Ronan would have me up on a balance board for a few
Okay.
minutes of the session, So just kind of holding onto a pole and I'd be on the balance board as well. So that I found that really helpful. And some days, he would just come and kind of, push me over. And at first, I would fall onto the ground. But the stronger that I got from the sessions, when he pushed me over, I would just kind of stumble and then stay upright because my core was getting stronger. And I thought that was a very clever way to try and actually get me to strengthen my own core as well.
Oh, definitely. And to people obviously listen to this podcast, would you mind explaining what a balance board is? Because I know that you talked about it, but what exactly is a balance board?
So balance board, well, they come in, different forms, but the one that Ronan had was like, I suppose like if you want like a basketball, I guess, and there was a plastic, so a place for your foot on either side. And so, of course, it would start wobbling from side to side. So you have to kind of try to balance your weight so that you're not falling from side to side. It's just staying upright.
Ah, okay. I get it now. I was just like, balance board. What's that all about? No, thank you for explaining that for us. So what kind of, what type of sport or fitness are you into generally? Is it more kind of gym or do you?
Yeah, I mean, I do love the gym. And I think, I love weightlifting. And that was one of the things I was most looking forward to in my course was about learning a bit of deeper understanding about it. And it was actually only because of the first lockdown that I was able to actually start my course. So, they say, every cloud has a silver lining. And I guess it's true. Like if it wasn't for lockdown, I wouldn't have been able to start the course. So I'm very thankful. I have to be careful of the way I phrase this now. But yeah, thankful, I guess, for that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who or kind of what inspired you to get, professionally involved, with fitness and sport? Was it
Ronan.
Friends or family or?
No, it was Ronan. He had so much belief in me, and we only there was one time and I was training on my own, but he was training by his own as well. And I was just trying to teach myself how to skip. That was all, and I just couldn't get it. And I was watching him doing something so complicated over and over again. And for whatever reason, I think it was the impending full moon. I just got so cross and I just walked out and I was sobbing and I was like, I'm never coming back again, And of course he didn't understand like what was going on, So I asked him, I said, are you willing to be open-minded? Are you willing to let me show you what it can feel like for me to have dyspraxia? And he said yes. So I actually trained him. So I put together a session and divided it, I suppose, into different sections. So for the fine motor skills, I got him to put on 4 pairs of gloves and to put on a shirt and button it, because I was trying to kind of show how awkward some small movements can feel.
Yeah.
So I had him put on 4 pairs of gloves and button and unbutton a shirt and then tie knot in his shoelace. And then I gave him two things that I've never been able to do, which is tie a knot in a balloon and put a key on a key ring.
Yeah.
And then I wanted him to get a sense of what it feels like to have low muscle tone on one side of your body. So I gave him what's called an exercise called kettlebell thrusters. So you're sitting on a bench with your two kettlebells, and then you stand up and you punch the sky. So for his right hand, I gave him, say, 6 kilos, but for his left-hand side, I gave him 18 kilos because that's what it can feel like for me. My left side is so much weaker than my right that it literally feels like 2 or 3 times the weight of whatever it is I'm carrying on my right side. And he was exhausted by the end of that, you know. And the final thing then I was trying to get across is the sensory. So I had to, you know, kind of do deadlifts while I shouted at him to stay concentrating while somebody was banging a plate up and down. And that was horrible for me as well, as, you know, because I'm the one with the actual sensory issues. So, yeah. But, you know, it was, I guess that was kind of partly what cemented my decision to become a personal trainer, because I was able to follow a logical plan and with a logical reason and know why I was doing what I was doing. I wasn't just choosing a random exercise going, yeah, here you go. I was actually following a logical thing. But he really learned something from that, and he's never forgotten that. And so, you know, he, in that way as well, he inspired me to become a personal trainer. And I didn't think I'd pass the first assignment, let alone the course.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, academically, you know, I never really struggled academically in the sense of homework or, you know, little class tests. But when it came to exams, it was just like a washing machine. All the information just got mixed up and, you know, and didn't do very well at all in exams. But when it came to class tests and homework, I always did fine. So I wasn't sure about, you know, the first assignment. And then it came time to do my anatomy and physiology exam. And as you know yourself, incredibly difficult exam. And I didn't think I'd pass it. And I was actually quite shocked when I passed it. But, you know, but then you still have more to go after that, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, you know, for a dyspraxic, and you know, particularly with myself, you know, loads of information going in, you know, 10% staying in, you know, 90% going out, you know.
Yeah, and I think the difficulty with that exam was that all the words just looked the same, and I was like, if I can't pronounce some of these words, how am I going to get the right answer? You know,
I think we do worry. You know, I mean, I'm a constant worrier, but you know, it's like I know that you know, I'll get there in the end. But you can't just have to kind of think, well, you know, it is what it is, and we will get there, as we do with a lot of things in our lives. Really, I mean, you know, say, would you say it's kind of a labour of love? You know, with your fitness, do you find that that's it? You know, that's now your thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine my life without fitness, you know. Now, like, you know, it's helped my knee in a sense, like, and it's crazy to think the only reason I started training with Ronan was because I was told I needed a knee replacement, you know. Now, I have just had my 7th knee surgery. I had it there in July. But in terms of building up strength, it's doing so much better now. And my gait has improved as well.
That's brilliant. And it's good to see, obviously, progress as well. But 7, that's a lot. That must be quite tricky to go through, you know, for all those procedures particularly. So, you know, as a participant, try and get me words out. That's a dyspraxic thing, isn't it? But yeah, as a participant of my 3 online, you know, dyspraxic fitness workouts, I mean, what would you recommend, you know, most about it to, you know, potential newcomers? Because I know that you've been, you know, to a couple of mine as well.
I guess just the variety of exercises, and they're simple enough that they can be tailored to any ability as well. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That's great to hear as well. So it's always good that we're always looking kind of for feedback, really. So, no, thank you for that. And what are your goals really for the future?
Yeah, well, I am just about to graduate with my diploma in personal training. I'm graduating on the 12th of November.
Okay,
And
congratulations.
I'll be one of the, thank you. I'll be one of the first fully qualified dyspraxic personal trainers in Ireland. So it's quite exciting.
Check you out.
But I didn't, like sometimes when you think about it like that, you think, wow, could this be the first thing I've actually really achieved, and it's quite exciting, but it's very nerve-wracking as well, because you're leading the industry from the learning disability way. But so I guess I have a number of parents now who want me to train their children. So I've just started out doing up their programs, and I'm going to start training them in the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic.
And I'm doing a workshop for parents of children and teens who have dyspraxia as well, just kind of going through exercises for core stability and also lower and upper body strengthening.
Wow.
And but my ultimate goal, I suppose, is to eventually open up my own gym. And yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's definitely reachable, I reckon. It takes a lot of time, and I don't know if opening up my own gym would be something on my horizon. But no, that's amazing. Obviously, I wish you all the best on obviously hitting your goals and your targets and so forth.
Yeah, and I do have to say to you, in terms of your own workouts, I learn a lot from you as well. I think you explain things very well, and never make anyone feel bad about themselves if they can't do something. And that's something of yours that I want to apply to my teaching as well. Not that I'd ever intentionally make people feel bad, but just kind of taking the way that you teach and just applying it to how I would do things.
How can listeners to a podcast actually find you on social media?
So I have a Facebook page called Personal Training with Dyspraxia, and I am on Instagram. I'm SGPT No Barriers Training. That's going to be my logo, is No Barriers Training, because I do believe that that we can overcome barriers and just work around different ways to do things.
Oh, definitely. And like you say, there shouldn't be a barrier to something that you want to achieve. And clearly from what you're saying, I truly respect that, and I'm a believer in that as well, really. So, no, I wish you all the best, in whatever you are doing, and obviously reaching your goals, and obviously good luck with all the training and stuff. It's going to be obviously, like you say, nerve-wracking, but it's going to be, exciting at the same time. And I think if you can get something to be exciting, then it just powers you through, doesn't it? Really. Which is brilliant. So, as I say, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
As of October 2021, I am following my dream to become a fully qualified neurodivergent fitness instructor. Please visit gofundme.com/Mike Nelson Fitness Journey for information on how you can support me. Thank you.